Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to this year's first Monitoring My Physical TBR. This is a series I've done for the last 2 years on my channel, where I monitor my physical TBR in a quarterly wrap-up. You may notice that I said that it's the first one of the year, and that's because I didn't do one for the first quarter of the year, because I was both slumping in regards to my reading and also slumping on BookTube. But because of that, this is going to be a summary of the first 2 quarters of this year, where I will be summarizing all of the books I've read, all of the books I've hauled, if I've unhauled anything, and all of that good stuff. At the start of the year, I posted a video where I showed you my entire physical TBR, and I looked it up and I started the year with 131 books. So that is our starting point. At the start of the year, I did mention that I have a goal of halving my physical TBR. This has been a personal challenge for me for the last 3 years to attempt to read half of my physical TBR. Considering I've been slumping quite majorly for the first 4 months of this year, I don't see that happening, but I'm still gonna keep count. I think it's really fun to summarize what goes in and out of my physical TBR, so that's why we're here. I'm gonna be talking first about the books I read, and then we're gonna look at the books I've hauled, if I've been gifted any books, if I have unhauled any books, and also books I received from book subscriptions. I'm gonna pull up my first stack. Keep in mind that this is a summary of the last 6 months, and I realize now why I do this quarterly and not half yearly or bi-yearly. But this is the stack of books I read in the last half a year. In the last 6 months, these are the physical books, plus an extra one, I think. But these are 12 in total. I read a total of 13 physical books in the last 6 months. One of them is a reread though. That reread is our favorite Anxious People by Fredrik Backman, so I'm just gonna put that one aside. So there's actually only 11 reads from my physical TBR in the stack, but that's because the 12th one I've unhauled. So in January I read these 2 books and also The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I did not enjoy that one and I have unhauled it. In February I actually only read one physical book, and that was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I read this for the book club I have with my friends, and I did love it though. In March I read a total of 3 books as well, 2 of them being long-time, what should I call it, habitants of my currently reading on Goodreads. So it was nice getting them out of the way. But yeah, 3 books read in March. In April I actually read 0 physical books, and I don't think I listened to maybe 1 audiobook or something. That was when I was hardcore slumping. In May I read 2 physical books, Carrie Soto is Back and My Dark Vanessa, and both of them were actually 5 stars, fun fact, so May was a really good month. And then for June, the month that just passed, I read 3 books from my physical TBR. So a total of 12 books across these 6 months, making it an average of 2 books a month. So let's do the calculations. 131 books minus 12 books equals 119 books. I'm not gonna be harsh on myself here because I'm well aware that I've been slumping, and I allowed myself that space to slump, both in terms of BookTube and also reading. I'm still glad I read, and I feel like I've still read a surprising amount of chunkers. I have wrapped up a few books that I had been reading for a while, and I still feel like I've read a good mix of genres. So I'm not mad about my reading. I know that other months I've been able to read 5 to 7 physical books off my TBR, but that was a different time and a different me. Perhaps I'll get back there this year, we're gonna see. If you thought I struggled with that stack of books, you don't wanna see the struggle I'm gonna go through when I'm gonna pull up this hauled book stack. Couldn't even do that. Here is stack 1 of the hauled books, and here is stack 2 of the unhauled books. Let's put her aside. I have hauled a total of 22 books in the last 6 months. Honestly, most of the damage was done now in June, when I finally have found back to my reading mojo and filming mojo, because I really didn't purchase many books at the start of the year. I got some ebooks, I got some physical copies, but not a lot. And if you compare this to previous year, I would say I've been fairly good, I think. I haven't made a comparison, so don't quote me on that. Let's once again go through the hauled books monthly. In January there were 2 books I purchased. It was this one, Much Ado About Nothing, and also The Love Wager, which I told you I have already read and unhauled. But yeah, 2 books hauled in January. In February I picked up a total of 3 books, and I purchased all of these while I was on a weekend in London. So yeah, and they look really nice together. I just wanted to point that out. I really like the color scheme of them. But yeah, as I showed you, I've already read The Appeal. In March I purchased 1 book, and that was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. In April I didn't buy any books. In May I did not buy any books. And in June most of the damage was done, and I purchased a total of 16 books. I blame this stack on summer sales and some much needed retail therapy, okay? I'm doing this only once. Let's go. Oh my god! I'm doing it! This is it. This is the thumbnail. Okay, this is a stack of 16 books that I picked up in June, and I'm insane, and I know, and I'm gonna carefully put them down now and hopefully not crash everything. 119 books. Adding 22 books means that we're at 141 books. I have not been gifted any books this last half a year, so nothing to add there, but I do have a BookBox book that I need to add as well. I've been skipping most of the monthly book subscriptions because I don't read the books and I'm not interested in most of them anymore, so I'm low-key considering if I should cancel it. I plan on doing a video dedicated to that actually before I make that decision. But the book that I did receive back in February, I think, was To Cage a God. And this one I'm actually quite excited about. I think it looks really cool. It looks a bit more adult epic fantasy, and I think it could be a good time. It's also quite stunning underneath. So 1 BookBox book for me to add, which makes it 142 books. Even though I've been unhauling some of the books I read, I actually have not unhauled any unread books. I didn't really consider unhauling any books while I was slumping because, as I mentioned, I didn't add anything to my TBR, so there wasn't really any need for me to get rid of anything. And because I was slumping, I was afraid that I would unhaul something that perhaps I would be in the mood for later. So no unhauling done. So that leaves us at 142 books, which isn't that big of an increase for the last 6 months, I would say. Like, upping my count by 11 books in 6 months isn't necessarily bad. What's bad is the fact that I did most of it these last 3 weeks. But as I'm saying, I feel like I've gotten my reading mojo back now, and I am actively reading. I do plan on reading a lot this summer, so fingers crossed that I actually will have a quarterly update for you next time, and that it's gonna look very different to this one. We're gonna see though. Overall reflections on this first half of the year. Reading quality wise, I have a few 5 stars. Nothing that majorly stands out. I do feel like I read a fairly good mix of books, although I think my most read genre so far this year is just like general fiction, meaning literary fiction and contemporaries. Book purchases wise, I feel like I've been purchasing books all across the genres, or not really all genres, but I've been purchasing fantasies and romances and some classics and literary fictions, but mainly fantasies and romances, and I'm totally okay with that. This made for quite a quick and short monitoring my physical TBR video, but still, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye!
You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after.